Good morning, my faithful loyal YouTube subscribers. Today is Tuesday. It is June 1st. The year is 2021. And we're still in the coronavirus pandemic. Couple updates. If you've been watching the news, you know that India has a problem. Check out three countries: India, Vietnam, and Japan has an issue now. So that may have an impact on the Summer Olympics that were postponed from last year in 2020, which got moved to 2021. And now there are people in Japan calling for the cancellation of the Olympics for this year because of the coronavirus pandemic and its impact on the Japanese hospitals, and they have the virus numbers have shot up and all this good stuff. Interesting because Japan and Vietnam were two countries that seem to have escaped the pandemic in 2020, but this year they're being greatly impacted by it and may even end up getting the Olympics canceled. So, but moving on from the coronavirus pandemic, yesterday was the 100-year anniversary of Black Wall Street's destruction in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Greenwood, what they were calling Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I sat and watched a very, very, very good documentary, too. One was on the History Channel on Sunday night. I recorded it, and the next one was on CNN on Monday night. So Sunday, there's two shows that I strongly suggest you all take a look at and watch. I never knew about Tulsa, Oklahoma, or Black Wall Street's destruction until I was damn near in my 30s. I'd never heard of it before. It was almost as if they tried to hide what happened there. A prosperous black town destroyed by a mob of racist white people. They actually flew planes over the city and dropped bombs of some nature, gasoline or kerosene, on these homes and businesses and burned them down to the ground. Very interesting. And I'm not going to lie and say that for me to watch stuff like that is very difficult. But I was able to watch both those documentaries, not back to back, on Sunday night and then Monday night, because I wanted to know. I'm a history buff. So I wanted to know what took place, and you learn a lot about a lot of black wealth that was destroyed, and 300 people lost their lives or more, and were buried into mass graves. And these types of incidents happen all over the United States. There's an article in the New York Times that talks about the various types of incidents that happen all over the United States that were hidden from us. I've always said that Niggerville was created by white folks. And I believe that firmly, that the problems that we see persisting in our communities today, it's a direct, those issues persist because of white folks meddling in black folks' community, destroying prosperous communities, destroying jobs and opportunity, taking wealth away from black people, and forcing blacks into poverty and despair, removing banks and money and wealth, purposely destroying prosperous black communities. It's still happening today, you all. Gentrification is a good example of it, even though I don't necessarily view gentrification as a bad thing for some communities, but it has definitely had an impact on black communities in black urban areas. Watching those, listen to the survivors and learning the history, it just makes you wonder how this country continues down this path of not wanting to recognize, even offer reparations to those families who lost everything in these types of incidents, and they were not able to file an insurance claim. They never received any financial anything for the destruction of their towns by racist white people. And some of us, I can say is watch the two documentaries from a perspective of education, so you can understand the issues that have been created. When you take and destroy cities and communities and wealth owned by other people, you repeatedly do this over and over again, this is what you end up with what we have today here. A lot of poverty and despair in the black community. This is a direct result of white folks destroying black wealth and creating the problems that we see that I call Niggerville. You know, we cannot ignore how white Americans, the role they have played in our destruction. And some people still have a problem with even, I did a post about it on my Facebook channel. I mean, my Facebook channel, I did Facebook and Instagram. And I had these white folks who inboxed me and saying, but you're promoting hate and blah, 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 blah. How am I promoting hate? This is history. This is on TV. These are two well-documented incidences that I asked them, did you know about this? They said, I never knew about this. But by promoting this, they're promoting hate. And it's not promoting hate. We're promoting education for all of us, black and white, so we can understand what took place, what continues to happen. You can't ignore it. You know, we can't just sit back and pretend as if this stuff didn't exist and still doesn't exist. I mean, some people act like racism don't exist at all. I'd be a fool to sit here and say, oh no, racism don't exist. Yeah, it does exist. I've seen it up close and personal. And in that documentary, it pointed out that these white folks did not want these black folks to have prosperity. They didn't want them to have success. They didn't want them to have nice homes and good schools and all this stuff. Has anything changed? No. We cannot ignore the impact, white Americans have had on black folks. The meddling that continues to this day. You just can't ignore it, y'all. You gotta just accept the reality of it. And hope that one day, maybe one day, I may not see it in my lifetime, maybe one day white Americans will learn to leave black folks alone and let them have their success. And quit meddling in their communities, in their schools, and everything that's surrounding them. Leave them alone. And let them have some success in their lives. I don't think it's gonna happen in my lifetime. Even now, after the election, with Donald Trump and his lie about the election being stolen, they've worked very hard. The Republican parties and the white racist Republican Party has worked hard to now undermine voting. This is 2021, and they still up to their racist ways, and they don't even see it. They do not see it. Kemp don't see it, and any of these other Republicans, the governor of Florida, he don't see his racist ways. They don't see it. They're blind to it. I've always felt talking to racist white folks like talking to an alcoholic. Most alcoholics don't know that they're alcoholics, and most white Americans don't know that they're racist. I'm not a racist. Why would you say that? Look at your behavior. As I repeatedly said, I'm 51 years of age, and I've never ever had a white person come to my house and sit at my table and have dinner with me. Never. Ever. Ever. To have a white person come to my home, a white family, white friends coming to my home, sit down and break bread with me. It's never happened. Now, my mother lives in a fantasy world. I always ask her this question, Mom, how many white folks been in your house and had dinner? And the silence is her. And she's 77 years of age. But white folks did this. I said, Mom, I want to hear this. Because I know how you acted when I was much younger. Now, all of a sudden, my mother used it. Oh, they're not all like that. I said, okay, Miss Amber. Will it ever change? This was 100 years ago in 1921. Black Wall Street was burned down 100 years ago. This is 2021, 100 years later. Has anything changed? Have we gotten better? Yeah, somewhat. They're not burning down our communities, but they're buying up our communities, I'll tell you that much, for the cheap. And when I first moved to Atlanta was a predominantly black city. So many blacks have moved out of the city because the city has become more unaffordable. I'm on my way out of here. I'm like, who's buying this shit? Not me. People are buying this real estate here in Atlanta, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever saw in my entire life. This stuff is so outrageously priced it doesn't make sense, but people are buying this stuff. Mainly white folks. I'm thinking they buying this expensive mess. I look at it and say, I'm not buying that. Even if I can afford it, I don't want it. Plus, most of the stuff is far too large for me. The size of the stuff is far too large for me right now. I don't need a 3, 4, 5 bedroom, nothing. You know what I'm saying? Most of the stuff that they're building in the city, most of these homes are way bigger than I would need anyway. I'll take a 2-bedroom, 2-bath house any day, but those are almost impossible to find. And if you do find one, when you see that price tag, you're going to say, well, who's going to buy this price? Who's going to pay this? I-ass mess. The problems persist and will continue to persist in Black America. I don't think I'm going to see these problems leave in my lifetime. I don't. Watch the documentaries from an educational standpoint. Watching it gave me a headache and made me depressed. Just watching it and learning. Because I never knew they brought planes in. Until this past week, I never knew they took planes in there and dropped burning bombs or whatever on these homes. They destroyed 1,300 homes, somewhere between 12 and 1,300, and killed 300 plus people and buried them in a large pit. This happened. That's not the only place this happened in America. There's an article in the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times, and they talk about all the different incidents that happen. They have a map of the United States, and they show all these different places where these incidents happen, and how these people's homes were destroyed, their towns were destroyed, and lives were lost. It's a very good article. I started to read it last night, so I'm going to come back to this because it was just a little overwhelming for me. Because sometimes you start reading that stuff and you're watching the stuff, you start getting real depressed. Like, okay. But I've always lived in reality. You know, I know how white folks feel about black people. I'm not over here fooling myself. I live in reality. I think a lot of this country was founded on racist ways. And some of the stuff that I learned in the report about watching the second one on CNN. CNN goes more into depth. You get more information about, as I was saying in the CNN, on the show on CNN, I wanted to look up the name of that show on CNN. That one you get a little bit more information than you did the History Channel. They're both good programs. But in the CNN one, let me see, it was, I'm trying to see, I have to check their website. I forget, I was going to say the exact name of it, but I recorded it, and I don't have my remote over here to the TV. I was going to pull it up. Let me see, let me just look up the CNN Tulsa. Ah, there it is. So the document is DreamLand, which was the name of a prominent theater that was located in the Greenwood district of Tulsa, Oklahoma, that was destroyed. Gotta watch. It's called DreamLand. It's the 100th anniversary of the Tulsa massacre, and boy, was it this! You gotta watch it. I hope that everybody watches. You sit down with your kids and watch it. You sit down with your friends and your family. I had a house full of people over here on Sunday night. We all sat watching this. We got together for a cookout, and I want everybody to see it, particularly my mother, because she hasn't heard much about this stuff, and she was trying to get it. So I'm going to sit down with her and rewatch DreamLand with her. My mother lives in a fantasy world sometimes. Some of the stuff, she's a Christian, and she just lives in a fantasy world that's just, oh, gosh. Like I said, my mother believed in fairy tales and flying reindeer and unicorns and Anything is like, what is wrong with Miss Hampton? I just sit back and look at it and say, you believe this mess? My mother, and I was going through my mother's bank account, and on her debit card, I saw she was making all these donations to all these religious people. I canceled that debit card too. I went, okay, and click, and we ordered a new debit card. You don't get a debit card on Miss Hampton. I'm going to have to watch that too. She's making donations with her debit card. I'm like, what is all this? Where is this money going to? And I stopped that mess. She's sitting up there watching TV like she ain't got nothing else to do but donate to these crazy ass religious people. The devil is a lie. Not on my watch. New debit card ordered, honey. She don't even realize it. That one she got as dead as a doorknob. I killed it. Ridiculous. Why would you give this money to these rich white folks? This is crazy. Every time I go to my mother's house, she's watching some religious white man on TV. I'm like, Joyce Myers or I don't know what she gets out of that mess. I just, y'all, I don't get it. But that's on her. That's on her. I don't watch that mess. But anyway, make sure you check out DreamLand on CNN and the History Channel, Black Wall Street, Tulsa Burning. Two very good programs. I don't think those programs are pushing hate. They're educational programs when they tend to educate the American public about something many of us didn't know about. Something that we should understand so we can look around and look at the plight of black folks and say, this is why they are where, this is why you see so many homeless people on the streets. This is why you see so many black folks in prison. This has been a systematic problem to destroy black folks' lives, and it's been going on for hundreds of years. So we can't ignore it. I can't ignore it. White folks can. No one should ignore it. We all should know what the issue is. I never wanted to bring children into this world because I've never cared for what I've seen with my own two eyeballs. I look at my nieces and never bring all these kids in here, and I'm thinking, oh, Lord, I could bring children into this world in this environment. I couldn't. Y'all can do what you want to, but for me, I said I'm not doing this. I don't want to train my children and bring them to this world. I have to put up the school system, these racist white folks, this job. It's just too much. I didn't want to bring children into the world. Not under this circumstances. I just live in reality, and I've known since I've been dealing with racist white folks' behavior since I was in high school in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I saw firsthand how these white people were just, instead of them being happy that I was a bright, brilliant, intelligent young man, they didn't like that. That's when I got my wake-up call and said, okay, these white folks something else. And I was too young to really, as you go older, you look back on some of the comments that were made. You would think our high school teachers would be promoting education and want black folks to succeed. They didn't. They didn't. Worst mistake my mother ever made was moving us out of Gary into the high schools, my high school years in Cincinnati, Ohio. Not good. That's when you realize that Gary had a great educational system there. By that point, we were in Cincinnati, Ohio. I wish I was still graduated from Wirt High School in Gary, Indiana. I'd probably been better off around black folks who wanted me to succeed and have success versus a bunch of white folks who fought me tooth and nail the whole damn way. But that's just my thoughts and opinion. Watch the show. Check it out, DreamLand. Make sure you check out the Tulsa, Oklahoma burn. I want to hear you all's thoughts and opinions about it, what you think about it, if it was as disturbing to you as it was to me to sit and watch. I think parts of DreamLand, the CNN one kind of glossed over certain things. I enjoyed both of them, but I think DreamLand could have been a little bit more grittier. You had all these black folks who were killed. They didn't spend a lot of time about the prominent blacks who were shot dead. Like one doctor, he briefly talked about him, and I had to watch it again. But one doctor, a well-known surgeon, came out of his home, and he was shot dead on his porch. And then they burned down his house. White folks have purposely, for decades, worked to destroy black people. They've never wanted us to have success. They still don't. It is 2021, and if you look around at these Trump supporters, these Republicans, the stuff that comes out their mouth, the things that they do, the stuff that they say, and the large following of white people who support their actions, nothing's changed. It hasn't changed. If anything, I think in the past few years after Trump went into office, things got worse. When you look at all the mayhem and confusion with these police officers getting away with beating, shooting, killing black folks, getting away with it. Like they have for years. And in that documentary, the local police department actually gave white people guns and deputized them to go in there and destroy Greenwood, to destroy the Greenwood community in Tulsa. Watch it. You guys, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to take in. For those of you who don't know much about what took place, this is a good time to sit down with your family members and friends and just watch it and get it from an educational point of view. So you can understand how Niggerville was created. The Niggervilles we see all over the United States. How blacks were so oppressed and persecuted just for having success. They've never wanted us to have success. They never have. And that documentary is very points out the problems that persist to this day. So check it out. I love to read your all's thoughts and opinions. I'm going to sit there with him out, have a cup of coffee and watch a little TV myself. I got up late this morning. I had yesterday was Memorial Day, and I don't know. I had a cookout over here on Sunday, and I was exhausted yesterday. Y'all, I was so damn tired. And my mother came back over and they went swimming in the pool yesterday. And another friend stopped by. We threw a couple of hot dogs and hamburgers on the grill. I was exhausted. And yesterday, it just kind of wore me out. And I did my version of what Hosea Feed the Homeless on Memorial Day. We had ribs and chicken, and we had a big cookout. My nieces and nephews, my nieces and nephews are well in their late 20s, early 30s now. They have kids on their own. They brought all their kids over, and they went swimming in the pool and stuff. So, had a large group of people over here at the house. Interesting. Most of the people in my age, my brothers and sisters, we've all got our vaccines. My nieces and nephews said they're not getting vaccines. They didn't want them for their kids. I'm thinking, okay. And I can't, I've tried to school them and educate them. And I mean, you got these people in their late 20s or 30s, none of them are in good health. I'm thinking, okay, coronavirus is going to jump on y'all back. It's going to be over with. But they're going to have to find this out on their own. There's no way I would be in my 30s, overweight, and I know I got health issues, but I don't want to take the COVID vaccine. First off, I'm in my 30s, I look the best I ever looked in my life. I don't know how this younger generation don't want to exercise and work out. What is wrong with these folks? I'd be up here exercising, running, jogging, exercising, my kids too. But, that's their choice. So that's the decision they're willing to make. That's the risk that they're willing to take. I don't think it's going to work out too well for them. I don't know. We'll see. But they came over here, none of them was vaccinated. It's just, I'm thinking, y'all, they said they're not getting the vaccines and they ain't doing this and they ain't doing that. I'm thinking, where all this ignorance come from? Where did all this ignorance come from? What is going on with these ignorant black folks here? I'm trying to talk to them, and I just gave up and said, you know what? Let me go sit outside by the pool and have me a vodka and cranberry and eat some ribs. Because ultimately, they not here every day any damn way. I got my vaccines. They made the decision not to vaccinate themselves and do all this stuff. They're taking a huge risk. Because people still, there was a police officer here in Atlanta who's been in the hospital for 4 weeks. They had him on the news the last few nights. They're trying to raise money for him. He turned down the vaccine, caught COVID, and been in the hospital for 4 weeks, still there. Dumb decision. He should have got that vaccine. But y'all folks do what you want to do. I don't give a fuck. I got my vaccine. That's all that matters. But anyway, All right, folks. I'm about to conclude this video. Today is Monday. It is June 1st. The year is 2021. And I'm out of here. Enjoy the rest of the day. Please watch those documentaries. Let me know what your thoughts and opinions are of them. One is on the History Channel called Tulsa Burning. The other is on CNN called DreamLand. Please check them out about the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre. Get educated and spread that wealth to other people too. I'm out of here. Enjoy the rest of your day.